universities feel that they're doing inclusion very, very well. I think we feel in this university we're doing inclusion well, but certainly Sarah Armott, who is well published on this subject, wrote a book called, can't remember the name of the book.
That's an interesting title.
Yeah, 2012, On Being Included it's called. There we are, I knew it was in there somewhere.
Well played.
On Being Included, and she looked at diversity work in universities. Because she was concerned that it wasn't doing what it said on the tin. And her conclusions are really quite surprising, but also when you hear them you go, oh yeah. Because what she pointed out is inclusion work within large organisations, and she focused on universities, but she levels this accusation wider, generally is about writing policies and counting representation. And her question through the book is what does this actually do to change inclusion, to change diversity? And, well, it doesn't really do that at all, because diversity work in and of itself is not involved in increasing diversity. It's involved in counting and publishing policy.
I think you had another finger up for a second then.
No.
I'm so used to doing that. You doing that to me.
I find it helps people remember stuff, but there's also places where it's not appropriate. But yeah, and that's an intriguing sort of thing to think, that actually this idea has been co-opted within a neoliberal framework to ultimately not achieve what it's there to achieve.
Well, I mean, what does inclusion look like, really? The perfect inclusive thing. What does it look like?
And there's huge debate over that. Is it? To bring someone up that you've cited on occasion, whose name I've forgotten.
Who
now.
I've cited?
Yeah.
I don't ever cite anyone. Oh, Peterson.
Thank you.
Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson. He's I'm not a fan, but you also know some of my arguments as to he presents very sensible arguments, but he is specifically designed to aggrandize himself. He will look at any debate and look for the chinks in the armour, and develop a compelling argument. And the one that he puts onto equality is he sees the current framework for equality to be equality of outcome, which I think he's probably right about.
Because of that counting thing, I suppose.
Yeah.
Quantifying things. I mean, this means is the thing people are probably already there. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Well, no, you're but I think this is where I think Peterson's dangerous, because he has a point. Which is equality of outcome is not the same as equality for opportunity. And actually if you look at it purely using an intellectual framework, equality of opportunity is the right way to go, and equality of outcome is clearly wrong. But that completely ignores the fact that we are working within a very highly skewed society. Our own department is a good example of this. When I joined our department, it was 80% male, 20% female tuition. Now, that is not going to be positive for inclusion. The representation on the teaching staff is 80% male. That says two things. It says to any female any female student that comes in, I'm not represented. I can't see myself doing any of these jobs, basically. And secondly, what it does is it means that we're only getting a singular perspective from male staff, and suggests that it is a male industry, and we're now within like 2 or 3 years, because it was there was a policy of encouragement for female staff. Female staff were strongly encouraged to apply, stating that there was and in this case equality of opportunity. But we within a very short number of years went to a 50-50 concentration of staff, which are the numbers that we put forward to Athena Swan. So I know that they're valid. And the department's not fallen off a cliff. It's not exploded. Nothing's gone wrong. We've used arguably a positive discrimination policy to change the distribution within the department, which is where the problems come.
Yeah, because I don't think there's such thing as positive discrimination without the negative of some individual has probably been penalised for not being the correct
Absolutely,
gender
and some individual has, and I think we know where I would go with that. But that's that's not the point. The point is that we've addressed a historic problem.
Of this representation idea is what the thing is, because it's fixed something by breaking lots of other small things along the way, probably.
I think there's a point at which positive discrimination and equality of outcome is
justified.
It's justified, and there's a point at which it's not justified.
I kind of understand that argument, that like you do this stuff for maybe like 10 years to try to correct the issue and then let it go again or something. But will that let it go again thing?
If you're
what will the outcome of that be?
If a nail goes into your tyre on your car,
right? I don't know where this is going, but go on.
You repair it, don't you?
Sure, yeah.
You don't then replace that tyre next week,
and
the week after, and the week after that.
I'm trying to figure out how I can argue with this.
If you've got a problem with it, well, no. If you've got a problem, if something breaks on your car, you get it repaired. You don't then keep repairing it. You just repair it once.
Oh, I see.
But you do put the effort into fixing that problem.
Yeah, okay, but let's say your tyres wear out over time, so you have to constantly keep repairing those because the natural way of things just leads to a certain thing.
You can't ignore it.
There's no... Okay.
But you've just fitted a new set of tyres, then you could ignore it.
For a while.
Yeah.
Until it happens again.
Maybe at some point somebody will and there's been many different attempts at this. There will be a tyre invented that's not an air-based pneumatic tyre.
I thought you were going to move this over to the actual thing we're talking about when you started.
No, I'm still with the analogy.
Sticking with
the
terrible analogy.
But somebody will actually fix the principle of pneumatic tyres, and we'll no longer have punctures.
So in the analogy, what does that mean?
Well, maybe our society will become...
We'll learn our own biases.
Yes, and we will become a more equitable society, at which point it doesn't need repairing, is my point. My point is positive discrimination is there to repair historic wrongs. It's like when people say, why is there still a problem with racism in America? They're still going on about history. Well, no, this is recent. This is now. This is still a problem. There's a problem that needs to be fixed. Can't leave it alone. It needs to be repaired. So there needs to be reparation. There needs to be consideration. There needs to be talk. It needs to be brought up at every opportunity to fix the problem. If the problem's fixed, then we don't have to mention it. But the only people who think the problem is fixed are the people that don't have the problem.
The people who benefit from the problem.
Exactly. Well, in fact, yes. I say the people who have the problem, it's even worse than that. It's people who benefit from the problem.
Something I've not thought about before.
I mean, a garage will repair your tyres every week if you give them 50 quid. Of course.
But that's because it's not their problem.
It's not their problem. They'll take the money. They'll check your tyres for you. They'll rotate them. They'll replace them. They'll do whatever you want.
Something that occurred to me when we were talking about the equality of outcome versus equality of opportunity debate, which hadn't occurred to me before, but it's just occurred to me when we're talking now, is how do you define at what point in forcing some sort of equality thing? How can you define? How can you define? No. What I'm saying,
and it's right.
No. Let me finish. What I'm saying is, how can you define the difference between an outcome and giving someone an opportunity? Because we could argue, okay, hiring lots of females in the department was an outcome, but was it? Was it actually an opportunity to then develop somehow other? Like you could take it all the way back down to being a child and being picked, say for the school team or something.
Well, thank you.
Are you giving that child an outcome, or are you giving them an opportunity?
I thank you for undermining Peterson's argument for me. But you're absolutely right. In this particular analogy, no actual positive discrimination, to my knowledge, was displayed. It was the advert that purely said applications particularly welcome from female. Now, I don't know if there was any discrimination through the employment process, but I don't believe there was. I believe that everybody interviewed equally.
It's hard to prove one way or another, isn't it? But
I do know the number of female applicants went up.
Which
then meant that the number of successful female candidates went up. I mean, those two things are linked. So, if
I was a man reading that advert, I'd probably be less inclined to apply for it. If it said females, I would think, why have they written that? That discludes me. That feels like
excludes me.
I said discludes.
You said discludes.
That's a new word.
The idea of a white middle class male being excluded from anything.
But this is the point we're making, though, isn't it? This is the point we're making, and this is the point I said. This is why I brought up that you're a white male, blah blah blah. But you've got your own barriers that you felt. I mean, if something explicitly said, females are welcome, I would think. On the flip side, then they didn't include my protected characteristic in there. males are also included.
Right.
So that
I
must
didn't
mean
know you were
I'm
going that way.
excluded. That must mean I'm excluded
I
if
would
they
just-
didn't include me in the
you're
list.
right,
That they.
and I would still justify that as saying that there is a point at which you have to repair a problem.
Yeah,
Peterson's
I don't
point
disagree with that.
actually even goes deeper than that, because if he was sat here now, obviously I would lose hands down. The guy is very bright and is
But it
is
bugs me that
very
because
used to
that's sorry.
to
That's another
debate.
point.
So
I
I'm
was
winning
thinking-
because he's not here.
But that's another point. That's another thing that annoys me is that sometimes when people debate, they're debating for their own ego. They see it as a
Well,
win
he
for
is.
them, an individual win for them.
He is.
And they're not trying to find a truth in the matter, which it bugs me then if someone says, I'm really good at debating. It's like, well,
I'm
great. Are you
trying-
finding truth ever? Or are you just winning the debates that you go to get
Well,
into?
exactly. I'm trying to be equal-handed by suggesting what his counterpoints would be. His
Yeah.
counterpoint in this
But
case, I think, would
I
be.
think we actually do that quite well when we chat with each other. So
I hope so,
I think we
but
do
probably
consider
not.
both sides of the argument. No, I think we sometimes
Try
clash,
to.
but then we consider.
Well, I think his answer would be that that's all fair enough, but who decides when you stop doing the positive discrimination?
Well, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and that becomes the problematic area.